see that Brian has turned his page to Wednesday where it says learning intention. Okay, in our packet, Gabriel, thank you. I see that Gabriel is on that page and Lisette is on that page. I see that Javier is ready in Nina. Okay. Yes. So, remember, as we are working today, we're going to identify the 3 items that we will be working on today. All right? And Magali, can you read the first intention or reading objective? What is it? Learning intention, okay? So, as our learning intention, we are going to write down that I will be able to identify all 4 vocabulary words. Okay. So once you have that written down, give me a thumbs up. Okay, I see that Gina's ready, Javier is ready, Brian's ready. Now the next item, I can see now that about 75% of us are ready. So I'm going to wait until the rest of us have that written down. All right, so that Gabriel is ready. All right, so our next item is our success criteria. And what does our success criteria tell us? How we, yes, Rebecca? How we know if we're successful? How we know if we are successful today with our lesson, okay? And it's really important that you guys know what is it that I need to do in order to be successful today. All right, because as college-bound students, you guys always need to know what it is that you're working for and why you're sitting here today. Okay, so this is how you know you are successful today. I am successful when I complete my activity. Okay, and the activity is actually around the classroom, okay? So some of you might have noticed little slips of paper around the classroom. So that is part of your activity today. And then go ahead and tap your head once you have written down your success criteria. About half of us. So the last and final item that we are working on is our language objective, okay? So what is it that we will be able to say or write, okay? So, I will be able to say each word correctly, okay? Some of these words sound a little bizarre. They are spelled a little weirdly. So today, not only will we be identifying examples of these vocabulary words, but you guys will also be able to say each of those words correctly. So when you come out of the classroom and you guys have your password as you leave, you know that how to say it correctly, okay? And once you are done with all 3 items, put your pencils down and sit up nice and tall, and that's my indicator that you are ready to move on. About half of us are ready. I see that Magali is in her upright position. Thank you, Humberto. Humberto is ready. I see that this portion of the classroom is ready. This section right here is ready. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So, we have done our do now in the beginning of class. So figurative language, this is the only definition I'm going to give you, okay? So the next other definitions or the other words, I'm going to give you guys examples. And you guys have to find your own definition using those examples, all right? So this is our first word. Now, we've seen this word now a couple of times, okay? So as part of our review, and because it's still part of our unit, I want to make sure that every week we're still practicing it, including this week. So can I have, Rosa, can you go right ahead and read figurative language out loud?
Figurative language. Definition. Language used in a special way to create a special effect of words that don't mean what they first appear to mean.
Right, so this is a special kind of language, okay? When you read it or you hear it, you're like, wait, what? That doesn't really make sense, okay? But that's the beauty of figurative language, that at the very beginning it doesn't make sense, but somehow it makes sense after you start reading it because you know that this is a strategy that the author is using or that an editor is using to make it more interesting for you, okay? And Selma, can you go right ahead and read our question underneath figurative language?
Where do we see or hear figurative language?
So where is it that we hear or see this figurative language, okay? So I know that some of us are writing down our definition in our graphic organizer, but once you're done, you can just go right ahead and jump in with our conversation. Where is it that we hear and see figurative language? Where is it that we hear or see figurative language? Javier?
Poems.
In poems. Raise your hand if you think it's in poems. Figurative language is in poems. Okay? I should see a lot more hands raised. Okay? Yes, we do see them in poems, especially those poems that you guys saw last week on Friday. Okay? Where else do we see or hear figurative language? Juan?
Music.
Can you use that in a complete sentence?
Eminem.
Huh? In a complete sentence. Magali, can you help them out? Figurative language is in music. Raise your hand if you agree with Magali. Is it in music? Yeah, we see it in music too. Okay? Any other locations we find figurative language, Jada?
Figurative language is spoken.
Is spoken? What do you mean spoken? Like spoken?
People, figurative language is spoken by people
Okay, so like every day or?
every day.
Usually every day, right? Sometimes depends on what type of figurative language, we might see it every day. Brian?
Figurative language is also found in books.
Figurative language is also found in books, right? To make things more interesting. Emmanuel?
Figurative language can be in dances.
Could be in dances? Or in, what do you mean exactly? Because dances are movement. So,
Like
can you explain that a little bit more?
like when
Juan and Marco, this was your first verbal one.
no, it was my fault. It was his fault. I was just playing with his hand.
Okay, well thank you for confessing. Okay. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Like when people
Dance with emotion? That's more like movement. Not quite sure that that's exactly what figurative language is. Rosa?
we see or hear figurative language in movies.
In movies. So maybe dance that you see in movies or music videos, right? But not quite in dance. Okay? So let's go ahead and move on. Okay? So, if you are ready with figurative language, give me a thumbs up.
Where do we
Okay.
go to draw?
So anything that comes up to your mind when you think of figurative language. Okay. So what are some examples of figurative language? We have come up with an example now last week and this week. There's a lot of different examples of figurative language. What are some of those examples, okay? Some of these words are really tricky. louder in your college voice. Onomatopoeia. Okay, let's start using complete sentences. Okay, so where else what's another example of figurative language that we have learned so far? Brian?
A simile?
Okay, can you use that in a complete sentence?
We can think of a simile when we think of a figurative language.
Okay, so when we think of figurative language, we usually sometimes think of a simile. Jacob? How can you use that in a sentence?
Can I give an example?
You can after you tell me in a sentence.
Okay. We find hyperbole in figurative language.
All right, and then you can give us your example, Jacob.
Here you go. She is so fat that workers don't have to buy wrecking balls anymore. They used her.
A little offensive, but that is an exaggeration, okay? So, I know that you guys have a lot of great ideas, but I do want to make sure that we get into our activity today. So, let's save those ideas. You can jot them down in your packet because you guys have extra room in your graphic organizer where you organize all your thoughts. So if you have additional thoughts, you can write them down. All right? So, this is our next vocabulary word. We were introduced to it last week, but now this week we're actually going to dive in deeper this week, okay? Can I have Javier, can you read the first example for us?
Study all we